What? What?
You know how much life sucks?
I am very aware.
And you know how I've always felt as like an outcast, a loner, a freak?
Yeah, great headlines, man. Is there a point to this?
I have finally found my purpose in life. I have finally found my place in the universe, and I know exactly who I am.
Matt, self-actualization's great, but I don't think that
I am a poisonous tree frog.
What?
Well, I was walking home, and I was passing this man on the sidewalk, and I wasn't going to talk to him because he was brown, but at the same time, he just kind of gravitated toward me, and he said, This is who you are inside. This is who you really are. And he held out a copy of Zoo Books. And he said, give me all your money. And I thought that was a fair trade. So as I was walking away with my copy of Zoo Books and I saw this beautiful, gorgeous, poisonous tree frog on the cover, I knew that's exactly who I was inside.
Matt, I'm living in the modern age. I'm pretty PC by anyone's standards. I'm accepting of orientations and genders and species. But, okay, let's say you are a tree frog.
Poisonous tree frog.
Poisonous tree frog. What would that change? How is our life going to be any different if you all of a sudden think are a poisonous tree frog?
What I have to do is go to the Amazon.
No.
Find the princess of the tree frogs.
No.
And kiss her.
God damn it, Matt, that is just the worst idea I've ever heard.
Already booked my flight.
Stop.
I'm already packed.
What are you doing?
See ya.
I don't even know why I'm here. I'm just the sounding board. Yeah, come to me with all your problems. That's clearly what I'm doing. I give them one time skip. Call from Brazil. Hello. This is he. Hospital. Poisoning. Who would have thought? Alright, how much to get him back to the States? Alright, okay. You have his address, right? Okay, are there any planes flying out of Brazil, like, over our area? Yeah, so just put him in the plane, and then when you're over top, just have someone kick him out. Yeah, no, bubble wrap would work. I mean, whatever's cheapest. Whatever you got on hand, really. Yeah. Yeah, alright. Thank you. You can't beat Amazon's expedited shipping.
You waited 2 weeks for a pun?
It was attempted sponsorship. Shut up! You weren't even here.
Everything hurts.
Yeah, well, so did this movie. Get up so we can review it. We watched a movie today.
Ribbit.
God damn it, Matt. Do you still think you're a frog?
No, that's the title of the movie.
Well, that's stupid.
It's also the main character.
That's even stupider.
Voiced by Sean Austin.
Alright, now I got an issue. So, Ribbit, 2014 animated film by Studio Crew?
Was it Chuck Powers?
Chuck Powers is the producer / director. Or maybe just director.
It was Crew. KRU.
KRU. It's a Malaysian animation studio that they've done something, I guess, but this was their 2014 film that got the voice talent of Sean Astin, otherwise known as Samuel Gamgee from Lord of the Rings.
They co-produced this movie.
Brittany Murphy's last film?
No, it wasn't her last movie, but it was a bad one. It also has Thora Birch in it.
Okay. Sean Astin, Samwise Gamgee, Lord of the Rings.
Tim Curry?
Tim Curry as...
He should... No introduction.
A toucan.
As a metrosexual toucan.
And,
Russell Peters.
Russell Peters.
He was the Bat.
And that's really all the notable names. There was...
I can't remember the actress's name.
I will look it up later. Alright, so I'm just going to give a plot real quick because it's very simple to do.
So, janky animation.
That's not the plot, Matt. That's the movie.
It's kind of
so, Ribbit is a poisonous tree frog who lives in the Amazon. All the other frogs like water and hopping around, but he's not a fan of that. So he feels like left out, and he's like, oh, I'm not somewhere I belong.
Somewhere.
Pretty much every 90s like Disney Renaissance heroes like song.
I want adventure in the great wide somewhere.
So here's the best friend. I'm not kidding here. Sandy the squirrel. Sandy the flying squirrel, mind you, but still Sandy the squirrel. You can just feel the rip-offs just oozing out of this movie.
I mean, the amount of karate that Sandy did in SpongeBob, she might as well be a flying squirrel.
So he lives in this treehouse, but then one day it comes crashing down, and he realizes, you know what? Fuck this.
He lives in a treehouse, which is also a plane.
Yes.
So Madagascar reference there.
So he's like, fuck this. Life sucks. I'm gonna go out and figure out what, like, where I belong. What's my true plan? And Squirrel's like, fine, go then. I don't even like you, Baka.
Total tsundere.
So then he goes out and he comes across this bat, voiced by what was his name?
Russell Peters.
Russell Peters. And the bat's like, oh yes, I have seen into the. Oh, sorry, he's stereotypical Indian, but I'm not going to do that.
But also, Russell Peters is Indian.
Yes, but I'm not going to do that because that's wrong for me. So he's like, oh, I see all the future and all that, and I can tell your life. And it's like, oh, really? Where do I belong? Why do I feel so different? What's going on? He's like, yeah, shut the fuck up. You are a human that was turned into a frog by a witch doctor, and the only way to free it is to kiss a princess, a human princess. And the frog's like, that makes perfect sense to me.
And the squirrel is like, that doesn't make any sense.
Friend, squirrel, follow me. We will go find human princess.
Well, I guess I might as well come along so you don't die.
Yeah, that's the only reason you're coming along. So they go on.
She's coming.
They go on a magnificent adventure. They come across that bat, as we mentioned earlier. They came across Tim Curry's parrot. They came across a French spider. They came across an Australian crocodile. They came across 2 German sea lions, walruses. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck. I think they were probably originally going for hippos or something like that, but they fucked it up.
Basically, they hit every single nationality and every animal that doesn't belong in the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that they got right was that it was a capon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then they a caiman.
Caiman. Sorry, caiman.
They came across a
I don't know.
Incan/Mayan/Aztec
brown people.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically what they have.
Not Eastern Hemisphere brown, Western Hemisphere brown. But the thing is, like,
so saith the Western Hemisphere whites.
Very clearly, because of the airplane and because of other like flashbacks and stuff like that. We also had a going nowhere flashback of Sandy's mother
being taken away by a human.
He was like, "Oh, you'll go great in my zoo."
I mean, it's not like they ever like bring closure to that arc at all.
At all. But so
and it shows up like 2/3 through the movie. I'm like, why the fuck are we getting a flashback now?
But they eventually come across the Incan civilization, and they say like, oh man, there's the princess. We gotta go kiss her. But there's a whole other subplot going on that was introduced in the 3rd act of these poison frogs are being captured by this witch doctor and having their poison extracted so that he can use it to kill the princess so that he can assume the throne, a la Jafar.
And he looks like the bad priest dude from the Road to El Dorado.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, the whole culture basically looks like that as well.
Yeah, and I get the reasons why, but at the same time, like, it's too close. Mm-hmm. It's too close for my comfort there.
They split up, even though they could have all done it together. They come back across the crocodile for like the 4th time. They end up feeding the poison frogs. They stop the dude from poisoning the woman, and
apparently poison works so quickly that it kills plants in real time.
And yet the frog is able to jump into it and be totally fine.
Well, it is poisonous frog poison.
I don't fucking care.
So I'll debate you on that one.
All right, and then
give the movie a little bit.
She, in order to thank him for his heroics of stopping the guy, even though it's not anthropomorphic, they can't understand him, but.
And she's a poisonous frog.
She's like, well, I guess. And she gives him a little kiss. And it's like, wow, nothing happened. I'm a fucking idiot. The bat convinced me I was the thing. But then Sandy the Squirrel, he's like, he comes to terms like, you know what? I did the stuff frogs never do. I stopped the bad guy. I got the girl. I didn't get the girl.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that.
And the squirrel kisses him, and she's like, well, you coming with me, big guy?
And then frog and squirrel sex after
That's
the credits.
exactly where it's going.
Yeah. Like, because at the very end and whatnot, oh yeah, because like, you know, the main character, his name is Ribbit. He wants to go by Norman.
Norman.
Even though he only brings that up like once.
He brings it up once in the very first act, and he's like, man, Ribbit's such a weird name. Well, what would you like to be called? Norman. All right. And at the very end, they're sitting there looking at the sunset. Ah, I had a good time too. Norman. Anyway.
The only good animated Norman was in Paranorman, and everybody knows this. That was a good fucking movie.
All right. So that's,
go back to Benji sometime.
That's plot.
But, okay. My first thought off the bat of this movie was that the animation is janky as shit.
Yeah, so the very first few shots were of jungle scenes.
And at first I'm like, okay, it's not horrible.
Okay, this is pretty good.
Then we get to water, and I'm like, okay, the water itself wasn't bad, but as soon as it started hitting rocks, it's like, okay, it's starting to look like early 2000s PC games here. And then
we got to like Tim Curry's Bird later on, and like that looked like shit.
I mean, the one thing that I didn't think it was. The one thing that I will say that the movie I think got right for the most part, considering what they were working with, was that the textures, like everything had texture. Everything actually had like Sandy had fur everywhere.
The Bat character, he had a comically like oversized like snout looking nose, and they zoomed in on that thing plenty. And like no matter how far they zoomed in, it looked textured. I was like, good on you, but please back up. It's very scary.
It's like, whoa. I love actually on the one review that this movie has on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not enough even to give it on the tomato meter. I can't remember who it was from.
It was the Parents thing. It was Common Sense.
Like Common Sense or something like that.
Something like that.
But they gave it like 2 out of 5.
The Watchdog group.
And I love how in the description of this they're like, have some scary scenes. And I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I wouldn't necessarily say that.
It had some tense scenes, but I wouldn't...
For children.
For children, but I wouldn't label them as scary.
And I'm talking like young children. Like anybody under the age of 4.
Sorry. But yeah, no, it was...
This animation reminded me of the Donkey Kong movies.
You know, I would say that, but like I recently re-looked at the Donkey Kong movies for no particular reason. That was some shit.
Yeah.
Like this is above that, but in the way of like what animation is currently able to do compared to what this is doing.
Yeah.
I would say that's a fair comparison as to back during the Donkey Kong days, what animation was able to do and what they were doing was like, oh, let's put that aside.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, we do have to. I mean, it's animated movie, so the technicals are kind of an important thing for this.
Well, the technicals are pretty much everything. Like the dubbing in and of themselves, it was not bad. No. Like the dubbing work itself, like the script was asinine.
All right, so yeah, that's something I wanted to say on the script. The very first act, they were having all the third act conversations. Like
they had several.
They had the conversation. It was just like, man, what am I even doing with my life? I'm such a screw up and all that. It's like, hey, you're not a screw up. I believe in you. I do this. I do that.
Thanks. I grew up a fucking screw up.
Thanks. You really believe me. Yeah. Okay, where does the movie go from there? He seems pretty accepting.
Oh, here's another conversation.
Here's another conversation of that exact same thing. And then at the end of the movie, they have that exact same conversation again. But like, man, I didn't even get the girl.
Actually, they don't even really have that deep conversation. He just goes through a list, and then they're like, okay, I guess we're a thing now.
But every single time it comes to like a scene, really, with this character, he keeps on stopping and being like, but man, I can't do this. Look at me. And then the scroll's like, but you can. And he's like, but I can.
But I can.
It's like, all right, that's fucking great and all, but you're not actually forwarding anything. No one's learning anything here. The only... Like, this whole thing was basically a tour of what should be Amazon jungle life, except they use so many non-Amazon jungle animals that it's not even that.
Yeah, I actually, the one section of characters that I thought was actually going to do something was like the 3 cheetahs.
Yeah. Yeah. So his whole, his treehouse crashed down. Because
it's full of motor oil for some reason.
I thought it was jaguars. He thinks it's cheetahs. It may as well be tigers. We don't fucking know.
It could be any of them.
But they are leaping. They're all little cubs, and they're like,
could be a panther.
The mama said that we shouldn't eat the bright-colored frog because it's poisonous. Oh, we don't have to eat him. We can just hunt him, and they chase him around, cause little hijinks and all that sort of stuff. And
this is what we call sociopaths.
But then the minute that scene is done, where his treehouse is ruined and everything, they just leave. They never come back. No.
They're like, all right, we have to discuss what's going on with Mom.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these characters, like Tim Curry's character is in this movie for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. He shows up and he's like, he gives a little exposition about like, oh yes,
and then they have a magic carpet ride scene through the Amazon, which makes no sense.
I want to talk about that scene in explicit detail.
I literally, the one thing that I said, it was musical interlude with...
I was hoping you wouldn't mention it yet. Damn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a musical thing. It's well,
it's not a musical though. It's just it's just song.
But that's what I'm saying. This song is literally like it's the fucking The Room with the R&B.
You are my rose. You are my rose. You are my rose.
There is no difference. It is. I can't even remember what it is. It's just like
I literally just wrote down. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
because it doesn't. It comes the bumfuck out of nowhere.
So Tim Curry's character shows up and he's like, "Oh, you're beautiful, tree frog. You're beautiful.
Your colors are vibrant and bright."
And then he gives a little educational lesson, like, "Yes, male animals, we have to have pretty plumage because we have to have something going for us." And that Tim Curry laugh that only he can do.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Curry was my favorite part of this movie.
But then he's like, "Oh yes, I know the humans. I can bring you to them." And they hop on his back.
He doesn't do it.
Fly around. They look at the waterfalls.
And they're like,
and if I could kiss you, why wouldn't we're together and doing this? Well, we're here. Bye.
And there's a problem with that song because the fact of the matter is, though, up until this point, except for a couple instances, there's no inclination whatsoever that these two are going to get together.
No.
Now, the moment that this song happened, I'm like, it's going to happen. Because literally the song is going through shit that you would expect to see with, like, Aladdin and Jasmine riding on the fucking carpet. Like, it had that type of, what's the word for it? That context with it. So then I was like, alright, so the rest of this movie is just me waiting for the inevitable to happen.
And it was really the two different character plots. The frog's character was trying to become a human and all that, and he had to come to terms with the fact that he is, in fact, a frog. And then the other character had the romantic arc. So it wasn't even until the very last... There was one scene before the very last scene where he was like, we got good chemistry. And she's like, what? Really? You mean it? And that was the only time it was brought up.
And then there was that time where after Ribbit rescues Sandy from the river...
oh yeah,
because they fell into a spider's web. The French spider trying to do that. That was just ridiculous.
Fell into a spider's web, and he couldn't get around the stick. And he's like, "You gotta snap the web." And so he's like, "I can't. I'm not strong enough."
He just body checks her,
climbs up high, and just
it just rips through. And then they smack the water. So like he first hits her full force, and then they rip through, and she hits the water full force. She would be dead.
Because that was at least like a good 50-foot drop.
Oh yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, it's like it was not like a little while up. It was high up in the tree. But of course, animated film. Not going to get far into the technicals here. But like at first you would think, okay, he's going to do like some version of CPR on her or something like that, because that's usually how it goes. But all he did was like pat her cheek, and she just then coughed up the water. And then he's like, oh, thank God. And then he kisses her, like, full in the mouth. And
he's just so happy she's alive.
Yeah, but it's also, like, it's not just a peck, though. It's, like, full on just... And he's like, oh, shit, I'm sorry. And then she was just kind of loopy for the rest of it. He's like, you sure you killed her? She's like...
Did I poison you?
He's like, are you okay? Did I poison you? Oh, no, I didn't mean to poison you. And she's like, no.
And then, as she's saying, no, fine, they cut to the next scene where they're at the human village.
Yeah, they don't really explore it.
They literally just like, and we're done. Moving on. It's ridiculous. The one thing is the caiman, the alligator, the crocodile. Kai. He is the recurring villain in the fact that he shows up halfway into the movie when they're just sitting at a riverbank after Tim Curry.
And somehow they keep him in the movie.
He's assaulted by the German sea lions. removed from the scene. We're like, well,
they pull him into the water like like the crocodile in Lake Placid.
He's like, he's trying. Yeah,
but I was expecting like a hippo or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like something that could actually take out a crocodile. But whatever. But then they do that, and then he has a conversation with the sea lion. They said, like, yes, to get to the humans, to get to the humans, you just need to go down the river.
They did speak real German in this movie, actually,
by the way. Subtitles popping up.
In subtitles in Comic Sans, so they had a point, and then they lost a couple points.
But they put him on a log and sent him down the river. It's like, yeah, just follow the river, bye. And then Kai shows back up, and he's just like, no, I'm fucking hungry. He's like, come here. And he goes after him. Then they go over some rapids. And it's just like, okay, so now he's gone. And then they go to the Aztec guy who apparently when he went over the rapids, he got knocked out. And the Aztec guys captured him and are now keeping him as a pet.
Yeah, he's just like got a rope around his neck.
So he just keeps on showing up as the recurring villain. Mind you, he didn't show up until like he got hypnotized, 20 minutes into the movie. So it must have been at least 40 until he
wasn't really a villain.
Yeah.
Like,
he wasn't a villain. He was
none of these characters, like all these characters, like
none of them were villains to Ribbit.
You had an illusion. You had an illusory moment to the fact that the tribe shaman was the big bad evil guy, because like in the beginning of the movie, like right after the bat scene, like you have this shot of like this other poison tree frog like running through the woods, and then you just have like these like claw type things come out of nowhere and grab him. So I'm like, okay, so it's right after the bat scene, so something involving the bats.
They also had bat sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course the bat never shows up for the rest of the movie.
And the claw thing was only because he was wearing like this weird like coat pretty much with bare hands, literally bare hands, in them. And then he never wears that again. Except after his introduction, because his introduction, like, oh, he was the hands. But then as soon as they get to the village, it's like, no, we don't need to.
Yeah, he takes it off and he doesn't wear it again for the rest of the movie. But then again, at the same time, the rest of the movie is like 10 minutes.
I feel like the whole thing is just supposed to be like, oh no, we misdirected you. We thought you made us think it was an animal, but it wasn't. Yeah, fucking, that's the weakest misdirection of all time.
Honestly,
that's like being a misdirection to be like, oh, Obi-Wan made you think Darth Vader was the uncle, when in actuality, was your father. It's like, wow, that's not that big of a change, really.
It's still blood related.
Uncle the father. Okay.
So. Now, I only have two other moments here. One, when they actually get to a point where they're trying to rescue all the captured poisonous tree frogs, they unnecessarily split up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you both could have gone in, taken care of it, got out, and the amount of time you guys decided to say, hey, let's split up and do so-and-so.
The entire setup to the scene was...
so anticlimactic.
He scraped off the poison off the backs of these poison frogs without hurting them at all.
He's just keeping them, scraping the poison off, and then just putting them back. Like, he's not killing them or anything.
Keeping them captive is, bad for free animals or whatever, but still.
Pay it off!
But he's like, yes, now take this to her chambers, and I will
become king.
I will be king. With the lighting change and everything.
Yeah, no, the lighting was like, it literally just went like underneath and just
red. But as soon as he walks out of the room, the frog and the squirrel are like, or sorry, Sandy and Ribbit are like, we gotta save those frogs. And he's like, no, I have to save the princess. She's my only chance. And he's like, well, we can't leave the frogs. He's like, you're right, we'll have to split up. It's like, bitch, those frogs are like 5 feet away. And it took her, after you guys split up, not more than 10 seconds to open it up.
Yeah.
So you can do both together.
And actually that scene that takes place like right after she unhooks it, because Kai's in there and all that stuff, and the chase between all of them is unnecessary. There's so much. Like, let me rephrase. When it comes down to unnecessary, when I say that it's unnecessary, it doesn't mean that, okay, I'm sitting through this and I don't want to watch the movie. That was my general feeling throughout the whole film.
Yes.
The thing is, though, when it comes down to the necessarily being able to tell the story that you had decided to present, it absolutely contributed nothing. The only thing that it did was just had a flying squirrel defying physics.
Oh my god!
Well, nah, flying
squirrels go down. They can gain a little bit of height if they got enough momentum, but they aren't able to reach the same heights they.
And they aren't able to go down, and they go up faster.
Yes. Like this is Superman in squirrel form. This is Mighty Mouse. Fuck you.
And the only other thing that I have to say, because we pretty much covered everything else. I mean, like, for the most part, this movie was meh. Like, it's not great.
When you say unnecessary, I would say that a lot of the scenes were unnecessary.
Yeah.
If you view the educational portions as unnecessary. Because they did
They weren't even educational. They were telling wrong education.
They were telling wrong education, in fact, of like a lot of shit, like what lives where. But like,
and their disclaimer is like persons, places, things, and facts.
May not be true. They actually had that in the credits. But no, I'm talking about like the thing of like the male plumage and how
that is true.
The colors of the poisonous frog.
Yeah.
And like bright colors are usually poisonous. They had little tidbits thrown in.
And the review that like kind of did this, the whole like it was like they gave it an A+ for education.
Yeah, because it did occasionally teach something that was true, but it mired it in the fact that like, oh, there's a flying squirrel in the Amazon. Oh, there's sea lions in the Amazon. Maybe there is. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm not as well versed, but I don't associate flying squirrels and sea lions with dank jungle valley. I don't. So maybe that's on me. But I'm not going to look it up because I shouldn't have to.
The last thing that I have on here that I wanted to talk about was the fact, and David brought this up very early when we were watching the movie. This was kind of like role reversal of the Rather Be Back in Texas episode of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, I mean, right down to Sandy the Squirrel.
Yeah, like it, and it's actually kind of shocking how similar it is. I won't go as far to say as that they try to rip it off.
No, because the whole thing of the Back in Texas episode was homesickness.
Yeah.
That was the theme. When finding out, oh, my real home was here all along. This one was just trying to fit in.
Yeah.
So,
or find your place.
Find your place.
It's like, so
it's different, but at the same time, I mean, it's pretty, especially in the first act, it's pretty similar in how much Ribbit was saying in the way of like, I just want to get back somewhere. I don't want to be here anymore. And
like,
just expected
I don't belong here. I don't like water. I don't like jumping.
Wish I was back in the human world.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty much wrapping up at this point.
Yeah, go ahead. Final thoughts.
The final thoughts with this movie is that, honestly, it's definitely not one of the worst movies we've seen for the show. Absolutely not. And actually, there were a few moments in there that I actually was kind of enjoying myself. And primarily, like, I wish that Tim Curry's character, like, was throughout.
Yeah.
Because he reminded me of Robin Williams' character, Batty, in Fern Gully. Which is funny, because Tim Curry was also in that movie. And I expected him to break out to the Toxic Love Song. But of course, two different continents, too. Because that one takes place in Australia.
Fuck it. There's an Australian crocodile caiman, whatever.
Sure.
They're all the same.
And I was expecting the caiman to jump into a big-lipped alligator moment. Because, like, I'm like, alright, he's going to sing some sexual song about eating this guy. Where's Tone Loc? But overall, the voice acting was adequate. The tech, we definitely could be better. This looked like an early 2000s PC or PlayStation game.
Except for textures.
Yeah. It was like, I mean, like, it reminded me a lot of Bubsy. You know, like, kind of like Bubsy 3D, but if they actually textured stuff.
Yeah.
But it's actually not as bad as that, but that's what it reminds me of. Yeah, either way. And finally, after that, I mean, the actors also didn't do a bad job. Like, I believe them, like, when the characters were where they were. The overall problem that I had with the whole movie was the script. It was the fact that the way that they structured this movie out, none of it made sense in any form of a narrative structure. And you, if anybody has seen any of my movies or all that stuff, you know I don't particularly care for formal narrative structure. But at the same time, though, there's a difference between not adhering to that structure and not adhering to that structure and having no story to go along with it. Because most of the shit that happens in this movie should have taken place in, like, the last third of a movie. Like, if you chopped out all the filler, this probably would be like a 40-minute short film.
I mean, yeah, it kind of struck me in the same way that the Hobbit movie struck me.
Yeah.
Where you go to all these different places, like you go like the Goblin Town, and you go like the trolls eating them and all that, and it's all these moments. It's all
like the Rescuers.
Yeah. It's all these moments where it's like, oh man, that was tense or whatever, but then they get out of it and they continue on, but then they get another tense moment. But it never actually feels like it was important that they be there. Yeah. Like, they could have easily diverted around that.
It's like incidental.
And they could have kept going, yeah. Like, there was, especially the part where the fucking toucan says, hey, I'll bring you to the humans.
Which he does not do.
And then he doesn't bring them anywhere near the humans.
Yeah, he's like, just follow the river. I'm like, can't you just fly us down the river?
Like, he has no excuse not to.
The ribbon of water.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's just, quick offhandedly, I hate it when movies, like, I get it, Land Before Time, oh, the tree stars, and the Great Valley and all that. They don't know the words that we use for it. Fine, whatever. But you can't have it both ways, because they were literally talking about the canopies of the trees. It's like, are you sure you don't want to call it the sun scratches?
Sunroof,
the sun scratches in the sky? Call it anything else, but no. Everything was like everything else. It was just the toucan called the one river, the ribbon of water. Stupid. Alright, so yeah, like he said, it was basically... Tech was not great. This acting was fine. It really came down to the script. There was a half an hour here max. There was a one episode of a children's TV show here.
This is a pilot.
There was not this wasn't even the bare minimum for hour 20 minutes, I don't think. This was a good like hour 30, I think.
I think it was between hour 20, hour 30.
Yeah, like it was, the point being is that it wasn't like just barely scraping by in regards to length. But yeah, I mean, what really got me though was, and this was as soon as I clicked on the thing just to see more information about it, Sean Astin, Tim Curry. I mean, I don't
Russell Peters.
I don't particularly know Russell Peters, but
I know Russell Peters from his like stand up and shit like that.
Yeah, I haven't watched that. But
these are names.
These are names. Like okay, as of recording this right now, it's been about like a week or so since Stranger Things 2 came out. Sean Astin in that. Wow. Fucking wow. And I feel like I had a chance to meet him at a Comic-Con once. I didn't, but I wish I had. If I would have went up to him and been like, oh man, Stranger Things 2, he'd been like, yeah, wow. I mean, I was really happy to work with him.
And also, you know what? Ribbit.
Yeah. And then he would have kicked me out. But...
Because also, when this movie first came out, it was only originally released in Malaysia.
Yeah, this was
not meant for the American market initially, but Netflix.
Yay! But yeah, so all in all with this movie, it's not terrible.
It's just kind of
it's there. It is quite literally the hey, I need to put on something for my kid on the drive up to Grandma and Grandpa's house. There you go. That'll shut him up in the back seat. And I can't say anything more than that because there's nothing more in the movie than that. So, nope. All in all, that was Ribbit.
David, I've learned something throughout this whole ordeal. I've come to a conclusion about my life.
Again.
I am a human being.
What? Oh my... No, that's...
But...
Okay.
One good thing out of this that has come along, I'm in love.
I didn't expect this, actually. I mean, some girl in the Amazon, right? That's cool, that's great.
Yeah, and she just loves to put her hands all over my nuts.
Note to self, Brazilian girls. I mean, I'm happy for you. I really, truly am. Do you have a picture of her?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a picture without her hands on your nuts? Oh. Okay. Matt, video's ending. Come on.